What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel.
Okay, so with all the hype surrounding the Logan movie, which looks like it's going to be absolutely amazing, I wanted to bring you guys the different types of adamantium in Marvel Comics. What I also think we need to do here is take a second and acknowledge the fact that after 17 years, Hugh Jackman will no longer be playing Wolverine, unless of course the Marvel Cinematic Universe gets the X-Men, which I don't think they will. Fox doesn't like Marvel, I guess. But I think it was kind of necessary to sort of just say a thank you to Hugh Jackman for playing such an awesome character. But having said that, there are multiple types of adamantium within the realm of Marvel Comics. Now, when I say multiple types, usually it just appears in different universes, but even within the main Marvel universe, there are a few different types of this metal. So I kind of wanted to run through these and see what we can see. We are going to start with the original form of adamantium, which is referred to as Proto Adamantium. Now, for those of you guys who saw my video on the origin of this, bear with me for a second because we're going to kind of rehash this for a second, just because of the fact that, at the very least, I want to go ahead and make it make sense. So the creation of Proto Adamantium goes back to World War II when the metallurgist Dr. Myron McLean was commissioned by the United States government to create a new armor for its soldiers that would basically be indestructible. Now, McLean goes to work experimenting with another metal known as vibranium, which he attempts to fuse with a developmental steel alloy. Now, during the fusion process, McLean accidentally falls asleep and wakes up only to find out that he's created a virtually indestructible metal. And so this particular material would be poured into a mold that would later become Captain America's shield. Now, after the success of this experiment, McLean tried once again to repeat his results and make more of the vibranium alloy. What he didn't know was that while he was asleep, an unknown catalyst had somehow been introduced into his original experiment. Now, because the catalyst was not present in the subsequent experiment, McLean was never able to duplicate the results of the original experiment. But what he did create was a metal that was nearly as strong and indestructible as his original creation. Now, this metal is what most of us know as true adamantium, or simply put, the metal that's bonded to Wolverine's skeleton. Now, as we stated earlier, of the two, Proto Adamantium is the stronger and more durable metal. To get an idea of how strong, we can look at what it takes to break Captain America's shield. Now, to the best of my research, I was only able to find 5 times that Captain America's shield's been broken in the entire history of Marvel Comics. It was broken once by Molecule Man Owen Reese's reality warping powers, once by Doctor Doom when he possessed the powers of the Beyonder, once by Thanos wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, once by Thor using the Thor Force, and once by Odin's brother the Serpent, who had made himself stronger by drawing on the fear of the entire population of Earth. Now, true adamantium, sometimes referred to as primary adamantium, though not quite as strong as proto adamantium, is still virtually indestructible, although it has been shown to be susceptible to manipulation by Magneto, as evidenced by the time that he ripped the adamantium from Wolverine's skeleton. Still, we're talking about a metal here that can withstand blows from the strongest characters in the Marvel Universe, including the Hulk, Juggernaut, and the Sentry, and still will go without being damaged. In addition to being almost indestructible, true adamantium is able to cut through pretty much any substance on Earth, with the lone 2 exceptions being Captain America's shield and Thor's hammer. Now, another key difference between these types of adamantium is that while proto adamantium has hitherto not been able to be reproduced, true adamantium has, although the process for doing so is quite difficult and expensive. In order to produce adamantium, its components have to be kept in separate containers before being melted together. Once the alloy is mixed, it must be cast within 8 minutes due to the highly stable molecular structure that does not allow adamantium to be molded after that point, regardless of how hot it gets. Now, because producing adamantium is so difficult and cost prohibitive, another form of adamantium was developed known as secondary adamantium. We're introduced to this concept in Avengers Volume 3, issue number 22, when the Avengers are battling an army of Ultrons. Now, while the original iteration of Ultron is constructed out of true adamantium and was in fact the first character to appear in Marvel Comics that wielded that metal, the copies of Ultron that make up his army are not. During the battle, Iron Man remarks that there's not enough true adamantium on Earth to build such a high number of Ultrons, and explains that most of the copies are made out of titanium steel, but that some were made out of a substance called secondary adamantium. Now, while we don't know exactly how this differs from true adamantium in terms of composition, what we do know is that while it is still incredibly strong, it's not as strong as true adamantium. And the reason we know this is that Iron Man states that Thor would be able to smash through secondary adamantium if you were to go all out. Another thing that we learn in this issue concerns our previous point that adamantium cannot be reshaped after it's forged. According to Tony Stark, this is true of secondary adamantium as well, as he states that the only way to reshape the metal is to rearrange its molecules. The way he achieves this is through an instrument called the molecular rearranger, which is not the most creative name, but there is one of these rearrangers inside each adamantium ultron that's keyed to a batch of adamantium at the time it's manufactured and can only work on the ultron that was made from that batch. However, Tony is able to supercharge one of the rearrangers and knock out several of the adamantium ultrons at once. Now, to circle back around to the case of Wolverine, one of the questions that's often been posed regarding his adamantium lace skeleton is how the metal interacted with Wolverine's biology. Now, we know that Wolverine's mutant healing factor is what prevents him from being poisoned by the adamantium in his body, but there is more at play here. In Wolverine Volume 2, issue number 80, it was established that when true adamantium was bonded to Wolverine's skeleton, a molecular change occurred that resulted in the creation of an entirely new type of adamantium known as adamantium beta. And what makes adamantium beta special is that it's able to regenerate as Wolverine's bones regenerate. So although this is a distinct type of adamantium, it seems to only exist when bonded with the biology of individuals with healing factors like Wolverine and Sabretooth. Now, in terms of the main Marvel line of adamantium, this is pretty much it, but there are a few other types of adamantium that exist in the whole of Marvel Comics. In X-Men issue number 191, a character named Serafina states that there are actually 13 different physical forms in which adamantium can exist, all of which are unstable and extremely poisonous. What she does in this story is she throws a device containing one of those allotopes that she refers to as adamantium 9 at Wolverine, which causes his claws to glow green and also causes him to become confused and faint. There's also another variation of adamantium that's contained in the tentacles of the villain Omega Red, which is known as carbonadium. Now, carbonadium is the result of a Russian experiment to create adamantium, and while it's not as durable as adamantium, it's vastly more flexible and almost as indestructible. Furthermore, carbonadium is highly radioactive and has been shown to suppress healing factors of individuals like Wolverine himself. Now, in the Ultimate Comics, adamantium is not nearly as durable as its main universe counterpart and has been broken by characters such as Hulk and Valkyrie. However, this version of adamantium is able to prevent telepaths from reading minds, which the main universe version cannot do. On the other hand, not much else is known about adamantium in the Ultimate Universe, so we don't know who created it or how. And because the Ultimate Universe was effectively wiped away from Marvel Comics during the events of Secret Wars, we probably never will. Now finally, of particular importance to this video is the version of adamantium that we've seen in the X-Men movie universe. While this version seems to have the same properties of the comics version, its history is vastly different. We don't know exactly how the metal was created, only that it was created by William Stryker, who collected a great deal of an unnamed element from the site of a meteorite crash in Africa. Also, unlike the comics version, the movie version of adamantium can be cut through by another piece of adamantium that's been heated at an extremely high temperature, as evidenced by the scene in the Wolverine where Silver Samurai cuts through Wolverine's claws. But with that being said, guys, this pretty much covers adamantium, that is to say the concept of adamantium in Marvel Comics, but there are other metals and other different materials in Marvel that are sort of knockoffs or that in some way differ from adamantium but are relatively close to strength and durability. A really good example is Uru metal, which is actually what Thor's hammer is composed of. But if you guys want to see more videos like this, then make sure you hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and yeah, let me know down in the comments section how hyped you guys are about Wolverine, because I'm really excited. And I will catch you all later. Peace.